Released by Namco in 2000 on the PlayStation, Tales of Eternia would be the third Mothership title in the Tales of series. Directed by Eiji Kikuchi and written by Sawako Notori, the game would follow the theme of eternity and bonds and be released in the US under the name Tales of Destiny 2. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, a young girl embarks with hope from her troubled world and soon arrives in the world of Inferia. Not far, a laid-back hunter named Reed goes to a watchtower where he sees his childhood friend Farah is there, noticing something strange about the sky. She wonders if it is something from the world of Celestia, though there has not been contact from them for 2,000 years. Reed doesn't care all that much, sticking to his philosophy of simplicity and predictability, making for a happy life. Just then, they see something come crashing down towards them as it destroys the watchtower, and Farah goes on ahead to check out what landed. Reed drags his feet as he follows, spotting an unusual blue creature and soon enough the crashed ship and a strange girl who speaks an unknown language. Reed sees the ship sparking up, grabs the girl and carries her away before it blows up, but once they are safe he notices a strange rainbow glow when he touches the girl. The girl notices too, suddenly squeezing Reed while saying febrile as more rainbow energy pours out. Farah senses the girl's asking for help, taking her to their village of Rashins to ask their elder, but he immediately casts her out, suspicious of her foreign attributes. Just then, another strange man blows a hole through the wall and beats down the foreign girl, speaking the same language as her. Reed and Farah spring to her defense as Reed is skilled with blades and Farah her fists, managing to fend him off as he mysteriously teleports away. The elder once again banishes the foreign girl, but Farah decides she will leave with her too and seek out someone who can understand her. She thinks of trying their old friend Keele, who left the village for university, but the girl refuses to leave Reed's side. Sighing, Reed agrees to travel with them for now, preparing for the trip with cooking tips from a traveling chef as they learn the girl's name is Nereid and meet her pet Quickie. Heading south to the academic town of Mage, they are detoured by a landslide when something strange happens to the Orbis barrier above. Seeking help from her martial arts dojo, Farah is told they can use the power of water Craymels to get past the river, as Craymels are sentient elemental beings that have many manifestations and reside in all things. Some people can control Craymels, called Craymel Mages, as a monk calls upon the water Craymels to calm the river rapids, and Nereid understands her incantation as the same as her own language. Taking a raft downriver, they arrive in the university town, learning that the world of Eternia is composed of their world Inferia, another world in the sky Celestia, and the barrier that separates them, the Orbis barrier. In addition, before the Inferia Empire was established, there was a technologically advanced civilization called the Melnick Civilization, who built a bridge between Inferia and Celestia for free travel by anyone. After answering some quiz questions from a familiar proctor, they see Nereid cause the Craymel being studied to go out of control, but one of the scholars recognizes her speech as the Melnick's language. As it turns out, all Craymel Mage spells use the same language, but unfortunately this does not mean they are fluent in pure Melnick's. The scholar adds that Keele is at their observatory, suspended by the school for his theory of world chain destruction that was unanimously rejected by the dean and faculty. Going there, they reunite with Keele after 10 years, and he is immediately intrigued by Nereid speaking Melnick's. Though he struggles to translate the ancient language, he is shocked to learn she claims she is from Celestia, as she seems nothing like the ferocious man-eating race he was taught about in formal schooling. Nereid also struggles to convey some sort of catastrophe that is looming for all of Eternia, and believing her, Keele directs their attention to some sort of dark matter he is observing growing within the Orbis barrier. Keele firmly thinks it is a sign of world destruction, and that Nereid's warning lends weight to his theory. Wishing to know more, he tells them of a Professor Mazet who specializes in the Melnick's language, deciding they must go now. As they travel, Keele is excited at the opportunity to redeem and possibly even advance his academic career because of Nereid, though he is terribly out of shape for the road. After they take down an egg bear that was defending its nest from poachers, Keele and Reed also butt heads on topics divided by classroom education versus real-world experience. Climbing up a massive tree to enter the town of Moral at the top, they meet the professor, who observes Nereid and gives them each an earring that allows them to communicate with Craymels. Through the Craymels, they can understand Melnick's, but it will not work unless they are all in the same psychic wave. Mazet also urges Keele that despite what school teaches, Nereid is a human just like them. In a short while, they all can communicate clearly with Nereid directly, but Keele is still skeptical she is truly from Celestia, while wondering what the odd stone attached to her forehead is for. She replies that she came to Inferia for help in stopping something called the Grand Fall. Elaborating, she explains the Grand Fall is when Celestia and Inferia will move towards each other and collide, destroying both worlds. However, they can prevent this calamity by gathering and forming a pact with the greater Craymels in Inferia, and those beings can stop the collision. Farah is optimistic on this plan to save the world, Reed doesn't believe any of it, and Keele does not trust her, though is willing to verify directly from the Greater Craymels since they do not lie. Professor Mazet feels if disaster is upon them that the Greater Craymels should appear, directing them to a nearby home for Undine. The group decides to make that their next destination as Nereid reveals it was a man named Hyades who attacked them in Rasheen's. Following a stream with the cleanest water they've ever seen, they find Undine's grotto where they are greeted by the spirit who quickly confirms the Grand Fall is real. Testing if they are worthy of a pact to do something about it, Undine challenges them to a duel, approves of their teamwork, and agrees to lend them its power. Before entering a crystal to travel with them, she says they will need the power of all the Greater Craymels, and Keele explains there are believed to be 4 Greater Craymels, of water, fire, wind, and light. Before they take on this task, Reed thinks they should head to Inferia City and inform the king of the Grand Fall, pointing out he can raise an army and find all the Greater Craymels easier than they can. Arriving at the capital city, they urge Nereid to keep a low profile as Celestians have been blamed as the cause for many disasters in history. The group is refused an audience with the king and are turned away by the academics at the observatory as well. Trying the Church of Seyfert, who practice the popular worship of the god of creation, it turns out they are aware of the dark matter and believe it foretells the second coming of their god, not destruction. Things escalate immediately as the Archbishop orders their arrest on grounds of heresy, and the Royal Guard appear in person to bring them before the king for a death sentence for claiming the destruction of the world draws near. The royals refuse to listen as well, putting them to death by drowning, but Chancellor Zosimos of the Royal Observatory insists on a stay of execution as he verifies Keele's claims that the two worlds are much closer than they have ever been. Wishing to know more, the Chancellor takes Keele to begin investigating the phenomenon, but Nereid insists they still need to gather the Greater Craymels and figure out a way back to her world. However, the Chancellor publicly declares the cause for the crisis is a sinister Celestian plot, and with this, the king declares war on Celestia, intending to invade using the Bridge of Light. Keele asks Zosimos why he is using his authority and expertise to misinform and mislead the country, and Zosimos replies Keele is young and doesn't realize the academic world serves the will of the government first and foremost. Regardless, the Bridge of Light was discovered 30 years ago, and they don't actually know how to activate it since the man who found it, Belir, never returned. Everyone, including the captain of the guard Rowan, has unwavering faith in the word of the king, as the group accepts they won't be getting help gathering the Greater Craymels. Seeking a new lead, they head to the bustling trade port city of Barol, but Keele stays behind, revealing he agreed to help with the Bridge of Light project with Zosimos and wants to take this chance to work at the Royal Observatory. The rest of the party is upset to learn of this sudden choice, as in Barol, Vera recklessly steps into a public dispute to violently defend a boy that turns out to be a well-known local thief. Though she realizes her error, she evades an extreme punishment thanks to a stranger who diffuses the situation named Ras. They thank him with a meal, learning he is a merchant of sorts, revealing a treasure he found in Sylph Cavern, which is where another Greater Craymel is. Ras agrees to show them the way, as they see he also radiates a rainbow light when Nereid touches him, as she claims he has febrile too. They see the cavern is guarded, but Reed finds it awfully suspicious that they stand aside for Ras, though Farah trusts him enough to tell him their mission to prevent the Grand Fall. Listening to her, Ras senses that behind her tireless enthusiasm and can-do attitude, she is hiding some deep emotional wound, but she denies this, as beyond they are greeted by the Greater Wind Craymel, Sylph. The spirit is aware of their mission, but is capricious about commitment until Ras persuades it to join them, and it accepts while telling them the Greater Fire Craymel is very stubborn and lives in a very hot place. As they exit, Ras says he has business elsewhere and must take his leave from the group, passing by Keele, who returns to the group, declining to explain why he is no longer at the Royal Observatory. Sylph lends them the use of an aerial board that allows them to ride the winds over simple land and water, thinking to travel to the desert town of Chambard, known for its blistering heat and high concentration of fire craymels. Traveling to the nearby fiery Efreet Gorge, they call upon Undine to cool things down, but the raging Efreet emerges from a pillar of fire, eager to attack them. Even when defeated, Efreet is defiant, and Undine ends up forcing the fire spirit to join them. With the 3 Inferian Craymel spirits together, their energies combine to summon forth the Greater Light Craymel, Rem, who governs over the other 3. They quickly ask Rem to stop the Grand Fall, but the Light Spirit says they cannot do so, as they say the problem was created by humans and must be solved by humans. To at least help, Rem hands them a sorcerer's ring that can not only shoot lasers, but also allows them to cross the Bridge of Light. Rem then separates into the Primal Craymels again, and Keele accuses Nereid of knowing humans were at fault for the Grand Fall all along. She confesses that a man named Belir, the king of Celestia, is behind the Grand Fall, but insists he is acting alone to endanger both worlds. She adds that Belir also does not have a bead on his forehead called an Aurora, like a normal Celestian, and this reminds Reed that the man who found the Bridge of Light was also named Belir. Keele reveals the Bridge of Light is on Mount Farlos as they head there and find a sanctuary at its base that is the birthplace of Seyfert's teachings when he descended from heaven 2,000 years ago. Beginning their arduous climb, they manage to evade a massive rock slide, but though they end up separated from Farah, they quickly see Ras is there to save her. Keele finds it awfully suspicious as Ras just happened to be nearby and also knows the layout of the mountain as they split up for now. Keele also notices Reed is bothered by Farah being alone with Ras and teases him about it, as with Quickie's help they manage to scale the steep rock faces and meet with Ras and Farah at the summit. The sealed sanctum door opens in response to the Sorcerer's Ring, and within, Rem appears to say once they enter the Bridge of Light, there is no return. Understanding, the group prepares to cross over into the other world, but they are halted by Ras, who reveals he is the senior Imperial Knight, Rassius. He says he cannot allow Celestia to gain more power and calls out Keele as a traitor for burning Balir's research at the observatory and running. Rassius adds he really was here by coincidence though, as he was investigating a compass called the Seyfert Key that suddenly began pointing to this location after years of dormancy. He claims them being here as well is no mere coincidence and concludes they must be a threat to peace. Neither side refuses to budge as they clash, and after the party beats Rassius down, they escape into the light as Imperial reinforcements arrive. The Arc of Light bursts forth from the mountain shrine, passes through the Orbis barrier, and lands safely in Celestia. Immediately, Keele notices so much is different about the atmosphere of this world, realizing the Craymels in Celestia may in fact be different, and it hits him that everything Nereid said about Celestia was true. Guiding them to the town of Iman, Nereid says this is her hometown, and Keele is amazed how much more technologically advanced Celestian society is. The Celestians are also very receptive to the Inferians, not really minding the skin-deep differences between them and do not have a status-based social system. Keele also notices Craymels here are used as common and convenient tools, knowing this would be perceived as desecration by Inferian Craymel mages. They also learn the Alaris Celestians have not only emit light but are also used for telepathic communication. As they observe Celestian technology such as guns, trains, and indoor plumbing, it is also confirmed that Balir was openly an Inferian and indeed did arrive here. As Keele has Nereid take him to their library, Reed checks in on an oddly quiet Farah who is suddenly remembering Rass's words and reflects upon why she is trying to help Nereid and what she is running away from internally. The next day, Keele says he spent all night learning about and even appreciating Celestian culture with Nereid and recalls how Maz had told him to think for himself as books and universities cannot teach you everything there is to know. They then see Nereid speaking to someone on the phone, amazed at the device as she says she was talking to her friend and inventor, Galanos, who was studying how to defeat Balir. In fact, he is the one who sent Nereid to Inferia on a ship he made, as she is actually his apprentice researcher as well. Taking a train out across the war-torn land, they see the devastation resulting from years of strife and something called Aurora art as they arrive at Galanos' lab and catch him up on things. Sitting them down, Galanos explains that Balir started the Grand Fall by using the Febrile of the gods called Aurora art. Febrile is a sword of power capable of divine levels of destruction or creation, and unfortunately Celestian Craymel arts are no match for its might. He adds that he sent Nereid into Inferia hoping for a breakthrough and is glad she not only gathered the Inferian Greater Craymels, but also a person with unknown Febrile. Seeing how Reed has the same Aurora energy within him, Galanos wishes to run some tests in order to better understand it. After an initial inspection, Galanos can see incredible latent power sleeps within Reed but is unsure how to wake it. The group agrees to help fight Balir and so moves to gather more information from others opposing him, starting with the port city of Peruti. Taking the train again through a mine, they fend off hostile invaders and notice there is a dense concentration of Earth Craymels here. Venturing further down, Nereid shows the group how to play Celestian Uno, called Whis, as they encounter a small group of Earth spirits that collectively call themselves Gnome. Beyond, they find an aloof larger spirit who is the real Greater Earth Craymel, and it refuses to help even after losing a battle. The Inferian Greater Craymels come out to explain that even though humans have to fix this mess, the crisis will cause harm to the Craymels too if not averted. Reluctantly, Gnome agrees to accompany them as it digs a shortcut to the surface for them, putting them next to an odd hut that gasses them as they wake up at a trick house. Solving the riddles and puzzles of the escape rooms, they are congratulated by a girl named Chat, proud descendant of the honorable pirate Eifried, who declares them worthy to join her ship crew. Needing a ship to sail to Peruti, they agree to play along, as Chat takes them to her ship, the Van Eltia, where she demonstrates her genius as a machinist and Craymel engineer. Setting sail, she says they are to help her find her great-grandfather's lost legendary treasure, but wishes to observe their pirate spirit first, agreeing to the request to go to Peruti first. Chat hates small animals, avoiding Quickie, as they land on the frozen shore of Peruti, and Nereid notes while it is always cold here, the ice here is unnatural. The townsfolk also remark how strange the sudden cold snap is, and there is a rumor the ice Craymel in the nearby Mount Celsius is angry. Chasing this lead, they gear up in cold weather clothes and brace against the harsh blizzard on the ascent thanks to Efreet. At the top, they meet the greater ice Craymel Celsius singing up a storm, and after interrupting her with a battle, it turns out she somehow lost control of herself. Gnome suspects this is an effect of the Grand Fall influencing the Craymel world, meaning they don't have much time left. Celsius thanks them for freeing her, handing the group a freeze ring and agreeing to join them. As a result, Peruti thaws out as a man who notices their actions thanks them and asks them to join the Celestia Freedom Army and fight Belir. The group says they were on their way to do that anyway, asking where Belir is, and they are directed to their leader Max in Tinsia for more information. As they rest for the night, Nereid is woken up by a telepathic distress call from Ayman, and the group agrees to help Nereid out first. Arriving, they are shocked to see the town in ruins and almost everyone has been killed, even the children. As it turns out, it was the work of Belir's underling who attacked them before, Hyades, but he teleports away again. Keele demands to know why he is targeting Nereid, and she replies she used to know him as he cared for her when she was young, but somehow Belir changed him completely. Keele is outraged on Ayman's behalf as the group heads to Tinsia with firm conviction, arriving at the city of artisans at the cutting edge of technology. They learn that the strongest person in Celestia becomes king, and when they are able to fend off challengers, they command more respect, thus why it's strange why Belir is hiding right now. Locating the rebels' hideout, they are suddenly ambushed as a test of their strength, and passing the test are welcomed to Celestia HQ by Max's second-in-command, Isla. She shows the group exactly which island Belir is on, and while they have a fleet ready, the problem is there is an impenetrable barrier at its gate. Keele suspects it to be the power of Aurora art, and Ayla shows them a massive Craymel cannon they built to try and break the barrier themselves. She then takes them to meet the leader of Celestia, Max, who is determined to defeat Belir and replace him as ruler. The group isn't interested in the ruling part, but do agree to ally themselves to defeat Belir together, and Keele has an idea on how to optimize the Craymel cannon. However, they need the greater lightning Craymel, and Max offers to guide them there while Keele stays behind to retrofit the weapon. The confident and charismatic leader is skilled with Craymel-powered guns, taking them to the ruins of Volt, and displays a carefree, brute force approach to obstacles. Solving the electrifying puzzles, they meet the greater lightning Craymel, Volt, in pain and in trouble, and rescue it, earning its cooperation in return. With all three Celestian greater Craymels collected, they merge together to form Shadow, the governing Craymel of this world. Rem and Shadow combine their powers to create the legendary Excalibur, a sword that may be able to match Belir's power. Returning to Celestia HQ, Keele has finished his work on the cannon, greatly impressing Isla, which makes Nereid a bit jealous. The rebels plan to strike Belir as soon as the cannon is ready the next day, and as they rest, the group feels a bit nervous about the battle ahead. As they sleep, Reed recalls the day his village was devastated by the monster Regulus Knoll, which killed his parents. He wakes up and goes out for air, surprised to find Nereid unable to sleep too. Unaware Farah has followed him, Reed shares he still thinks about his parents that were killed when he was very young, and Nereid shares she also doesn't have parents and mostly has a few sad memories of them left. The next day, they see the cannon was installed to the Van Eltia as it leads the Celestia fleet to Belir Island Fortress, piercing through the enemy armada with overwhelming firepower. With a clear shot now, the moment of truth arrives as the greater Craymel cannon is deployed, charged up, and fired. The group cheers as the barrier is destroyed, though after landing and storming the castle, they find it strangely light on resistance. Instead, the group finds strong undead guarding the keep, and arriving at the throne room are shocked to find Belir, long dead, on his seat of power. The party now wonders who is behind the Grand Fall, if not Belir, as a woman behind them explains Belir died 10 years ago, though his soul lives on within her. She also recognizes Nereid, as Nereid explains she is Shizel, Belir's wife, and Shizel proudly states she is behind the Grand Fall and explains it was the dying wish of her husband. She claims it is not destruction, but a rebirth for Eternia, as she strikes down Max's forces that enter. Both sides clash, but Shizel is an unstoppable force, easily defeating the group without even using her true power. Shizel smirks as she charges up, and Rassius uses his own Aurora art to shield the group as they run away before Shizel vaporizes Belir's remains and blasts off into the sky, piercing through the Orbis barrier on her own and disappearing into the dark matter. The group is amazed they survive, as Ras says he needed to give them his Seyfert key. As Reed takes it, his aura shines again, and Ras explains Reed has the divine Aurora, telling him to meet with Galanos to learn more. However, his shield for them took everything he had as he dies, telling Reed to use his Aurora art to protect those he loves. Back on the ship, a keen Keele questions Nereid on her relationship to Shizel, and Nereid confesses Shizel is her mother and Belir is her father. She apologizes for not saying something earlier, but adds her parents used to be warm and loving, unlike how they are now. Returning to Galanos, they wonder why Ras died, giving them the Seyfert key, and the researcher explains the key is a compass containing the will of Seyfert, and following where it leads is to follow the will of Seyfert. Galanos adds the key guided Ras to him, and then guided Ras to learn his Aurora art by passing the trials of Seyfert. Elaborating, he explains there are two forms of the Aurora arts, the Dark Aurora of Nereid and the Divine Aurora of Seyfert, and though Ras has strong essence, he did not complete the trials and acquired Divine Aurora arts because he instead chose to rush over and save the group. Determined to not let Ras's sacrifice be in vain, Reed agrees to undergo the trials as Galanos agrees to join forces with Celestia and looks into the dark matter Shizel disappeared into. Using the Seyfert key, they follow its beacon of light to a shrine where Keele says Seyfert sacrificed his life to defeat Nereid, ending a long war, but Nereid says according to Celestia, Nereid is a hero who rose up to free his oppressed people. As it happens, Reed is the only person who can enter the shrine, and in his first trial, Reed is forced to play from the perspective of the egg bear they killed at the start of his journey. He is rewarded with the Aurora wall art that Ras used to protect them, but they see the next trial is in Imperial, wondering how they can return home. An idea hits Chad, who says the great pirate Ifrid sailed all of Eternia, revealing one of his treasures created a bridge of expedition, and they decide to dig up this lost tool. They find another hideout wherein the Van Eltia is upgraded and outfitted with a bay of submersible craft able to travel the ocean floor, as the bridge is actually on the seafloor. Finding an undersea tunnel, they emerge to find a secluded casino town where Nereid shows off her dancing, but elsewhere they find an underwater platform that once activated lifts their entire ship into the sky. Taken into a relay station and the Orbis barrier, they are indeed brought over into Inferior, where they not only find Ifrid's tomb full of spooky inhabitants, but also a sunken pirate ship where a devious siren still lurks within. Locating a safer garden underwater, they locate the second trial, wherein Reed's heart is tested by reliving Keele's past as a child where he joined Farah and Reed at the Regulus Knoll to play and collect star fragments. Even though they were told not to go there, they explored anyway, finding a tomb but were caught by Farah's father, who hurried them home but was shocked to see the monster sealed within somehow escaped. As something sinister would possess and transform Farah's father, Reed is taken out of the trial, learning the pain of others from their perspective, and is granted the Aurora sword art while told there is one more trial. Beyond, Keele and Nereid repair a projector that tells the tale of how before there was Eternia, there was the formless spirit world Vattengeist, which was Nereid's world. In time, Seyfert would introduce the physical world and create life, but would seal away Vattengeist to make way for Eternia. Hearing this, Keele thinks Shizel isn't trying to change the world, but restore it to what it was. The group is conflicted upon learning Seyfert was the invader, but it's Eternia they want to fight and preserve. Deep in thought over this, they return to the ship where Chat directs their attention to the fact they are now surrounded by the Royal Navy. The group surrenders peacefully and are brought before the king, where he demands to know what happened to Ras and is upset to learn he died. Quickly accusing the group of treason, the king says Celestia will soon fall anyway to the Craymel Mage force led by Captain Rowan and throws him in the dungeon to be executed the next day. They are visited by the princess, who wants to know everything about Rasius' final moments, and after hearing about his sacrifice to save Eternia, she lets the party free, revealing Rasius kept correspondence with her, so she knew about Belir and the Dark Aurora and so believes them. The princess confesses she had feelings for Rasius, but realizes she wanted his affection too but never actually did anything for him, and hopes this action helps fulfill his dying wish. After she escorts them out of the castle, they see the compass now points to the Orbis barrier, taking the Bridge of Expedition back and finding an observatory there. They see the Seyfert ring where the dark matter and Shizel wait, and in the final trial, Reed relives a moment in Nereid's past when Belir and Shizel were kind and loving parents. One day, Belir would enter in a panic, saying he's been framed for the assassination of the king by a traitor named Imperial, but intends to protect his family nonetheless, telling them to look to Hyades for help. Shizel promises until he returns she will work towards their dreams as she takes Nereid and flees to Galanos for help, as it turns out Hyades has betrayed Belir. Imperial would take Shizel and Nereid hostage, but Belir would leap in and try to shield his wife and daughter with his body as he was riddled with bullets. Dying, he would say their ideal world was the one beyond the material, as Imperial would have Shizel shot down too. However, in that instant, a voice would call out to her, awakening her dark Aurora, blowing away her assailants and erupting with power fueled by grief and rage. As the trial ends, Reed is told he has passed all trials, earning his divine Aurora and learning the Aurora wave art. Asking what Aurora art is, Reed learns the divine Aurora is the skill born when human and Craymel become one, but since Craymels only listen to a pure soul, he had to be tested for his understanding in order to grasp the true form of existence. Reed reflects that Shizel is just following her own sense of justice and is advised to follow his own path and protect those he loves, even if that means opposing Seyfert. Leaving the trial, Reed suddenly hugs Farah, promising he will protect those precious to him as he has the divine Aurora they need. Returning to the observatory, they find controls for the ring within, opening up a section that exposes the dark matter. At this time, Isla sees the exposed dark matter as well, as Celestia fires the massive Craymel cannon at Belir Castle at it, and thinking the same thing, the group fires their own, as both shots rupture the dark matter, but they send such violent shockwaves through the Orbis barrier that the Van Eltia is capsized. Reed is knocked out and recalls again the day his village was destroyed. His parents were killed as Farah's father's monster form was stopped, and Farah blames herself for being the reason it all happened. Startled awake, he sees he was knocked out and they were rescued by Max and Celestia. After thanking Max for the save, they are interrupted by news that the Craymel cannon at Belir Castle has been overrun by the Imperial army and Isla has been taken hostage. Hurrying over, they see Hyades has returned and is fighting Captain Rowan and the Inferians while Isla is captured to the side, but the group decides to fight Hyades alongside Rowan instead. Striking down Hyades once and for all, they pass along a message from Rast to Rowan saying Altus Vey is entrusted to him, something he understands, and asks if he wants to instead work together. This gesture convinces the King of Inferia to open the table to discuss things peacefully, as Celestia and Inferia agree to cooperate to defend Eternia together against Shizel. Keele proposes a modified Craymel cannon that channels and merges the energy of both of their worlds, but they need a rare material called Rabavius ore that is like a star fragment. As they search, they earn the respect and full cooperation of Shadow and find a shrine wherein they meet with their supreme greater elemental Craymel, Maxwell, earning his cooperation through a difficult battle too. Farah thinks they can find some ore in Regulus Knoll, returning to their hometown, as it turns out Farah has been repressing feelings of guilt for getting people killed. Understanding her pain, Reed says she's been blaming herself for 10 years and her suffering has gone on long enough. They receive a warning from the Greater Craymels that Rabavius ore can amplify or suppress the effect of Craymels, earning the full cooperation of Rem as they test the group, finding a room full of pure ore and learning it was this room where Nereid was sealed for 2,000 years. Upon examination, Keele is doubtful they broke Seyfert's seal as kids, but suddenly darkness begins to envelop Nereid as she quickly summons Rem, who holds back the darkness as she passes out. Keele believes Nereid took control of Nereid because she has the power of the Dark Aurora, revealing that Galanos told him Shizel experimented on Nereid's body in order to learn about the Aurora art. Farah wonders if Shizel is not also possessed by Nereid for the same reason, and as Nereid recovers, she replies that she is still committed to stopping Shizel regardless. Returning to Belir Castle's Craymel cannon, they hand over the ore as Galanos asks to check out the observatory for something and Keele and Nereid join him. After some measurements, they are dismayed to learn the two worlds are already so close to each other past the critical point where even stopping Shizel can do anything about it. Defeated, Keele looks outside with Nereid, wishing it was all a dream, but Nereid says she's glad it's not, as even though the situation is dire, she is glad to have met everyone and be with Keele right now. Keele appreciates and compliments Nereid, which throws her off, but admits she likes him this way too. Elsewhere, Reed tells Farah he learned about what really happened in her past through the trials and she hits him for now sharing that fact. She thinks on Reed's promise to protect those he loves and she says she agrees and wants to protect him too. At the same time, the Greater Craymels meet to speak about the future, saying while they need to help the humans now, they agree they wish to continue living in a world alongside them. As soon as everyone is ready, both augmented Craymel cannons combine their fire again at the dark matter, destroying it, though it reveals a strange castle underneath that has begun to manifest of Altenkeist. Bracing themselves, they enter and find all manner of strong elemental guardians, making their way to the heart of the castle, where Shizel shows the power of all Eternia's Craymels flow into her. With the Dark Aurora and Nereid's Febrile, she intends to defeat Seyfert and become the creator of a new world by reversing the events of 2,000 years ago. Keele asks if she is Nereid, and she says she is, as Shizel's weak soul is trapped with her as her hatred for this world allowed such a strong will to grow and unite with Nereid. In the spirit world, she claims jealousy, hatred, greed, and grief will cease to exist. The ground under their feet rumbles as she announced it has begun, and Reed counters everyone has their own sense of justice, and so strife and chaos will always rule, but at the same time, people can learn and change by exploring their differences so they don't need the grand fall. Nereid rejects Reed's rhetoric, ascending into a monstrous form, but working together, Reed, Farah, Nereid, Keele, Chat, and Max defeat the god of destruction that threatens their world as Reed uses the divine Aurora art to cancel Nereid's power and separate it from Shizel. After the battle, they find themselves in the core of the Seyfert ring as the grand fall continues on, and Reed wonders what might happen if he destroys the core with his Aurora art and dissolve the Seyfert ring. Keele theorizes that assuming they are not annihilated instantly, best case is there would be no spatial relation between them anymore. Nereid says it's worth trying if they combine both their dark and divine Aurora arts, willing to take the risk of it destroying her soul like her mother. Keele then embraces Nereid, saying she needs to live so that they can always be together, and Reed tells Farah he looks forward to going home with her after this. Pouring everything they have into it, the fringe of the dark and divine Aurora is proving too much for Nereid as Shizel gets up and tells Nereid to stand aside, adding that farewells are not the end. Taking over from Nereid, Shizel's body pulls Nereid's power back into herself as tentacles burst out of her body. As the ring rips apart, Shizel and Nereid are pulled in and destroyed as by a miracle Reed uses the Feebrill of Seyfert to create two worlds instead to stop the Grand Fall while the party is forced apart. As the game ends, Reed and Farah are gently returned to Rasheen's, alive and well, as after some time passes, Chat finds them with a modified Van Eltia that is a spaceship now. With this, they return to the wholly separate world of Celestia, soon to reunite with their missing friends. Tales of Eternia has enjoyed the success of selling over 1.3 million copies worldwide.